Backstory: my 30-year-old male. Girlfriend's 29-year-old female. Grandfather owned a company and had done fairly well for himself, so when my girlfriend's older sisters, 36-year-old female twins, turned 30, he bought 2 houses to let them live there rent-free on the condition they save their money and buy the house off him and the company. Planning to do the same for my girlfriend and younger sister when they turned 30. First sister was able to save up and buy the house with her husband. Now for the second house, enter ex-brother-in-law, 37-year-old male. Ex-brother-in-law, now thinking he's getting a free ride, decides to take out a bunch of loans and open a gym while being supported by sister-in-law. She has a well-paying job. They live rent-free for 4 years while his gym just bleeds money. Was only open on Thursday 9. 2, because he liked his free time. After 4 years, grandfather asks for them to either buy the house or start paying rent. Since they couldn't afford the house, they rented out the basement for $1,300 a month while only paying $1,000 in rent, pocketing $300 a month on a property they don't own. Well, sadly, last year, my GF's grandfather passed away, so the company and his assets were to be liquidated, and sold. This included the house. My sister-in-law and ex-brother-in-law were given the first chance to buy the house but couldn't afford it due to all the debt. Now, it just so happened my girlfriend and I were looking to buy, and we thought, what a great opportunity. We even offered to rent to them for under market value so they wouldn't have to move and we would live in the basement. My girlfriend's father even offered them $900 a month for the first year to help with brother-in-laws and rent since the free ride was ending and they weren't prepared. Well, that wasn't good enough for my ex-brother-in-law. He started demanding and threatening they should just get the house. Remember, this is not even his family, but his wife's. Sister-in-law, tired of supporting him in his tantrums, leaves him. She understood the situation and was grateful the whole time. Only mistake was her trying to support her husband's dream. Not feeling comfortable, she moves out. Come time for us to take possession, we give him plenty of opportunity and months' notice to leave before we move in. On move-in day, he is still there throwing stuff into the back of his truck. He screams at us for stealing his house while demanding he keeps a key for the garage because that is his storage. We changed locks right after he left. Once he was off the property, we realized he had left the place a disaster, including tons of garbage and belongings scattered everywhere. For months after he kept threatening us for all we did to him. Trying to be the bigger man, I offered to store his stuff for 2 months while he finds a more suitable place. I should have never have done this, but was also trying to help sister-in-law during divorce as some of the stuff was hers. When he finally came to get his belongings, he refused to take his trailer loaded up with his stuff and will sue us if I move it off the property. Fast forward, we got all the belongings settled. But now, he is trying to sue his ex-wife, the estate, and us for the house, or at least $50 zero for all the upgrades he put into the house while living there 6 years rent-free. Mind you, no upgrades were actually done, just half-demolished projects. It cost us another $20 zero on top of the sale just to finish everything he destroyed. Kitchen, bathroom, deck, etc. None of these projects were asked to be done by the grandfather, he just wanted them for himself. Update to answer some questions people may have. The reason we were so hospitable in the beginning was because sister-in-law and ex-brother-in-law have kids together, niece and nephew, amazing kids, who we were hoping to spare the trouble of moving or drama. Sadly, that did not happen. The grandfather's estate went only to his direct kids. No grandchildren inherited anything. We bought the house at full market value minus a realtor fee. The sister-in-law did not get anything from the sale of house. Ex-brother-in-law actually made some pretty disgusting comments such as, "I didn't expect him to die. Why does that mean we have to move just because the other grandkids didn't get anything? Doesn't mean you can take what's mine and is gone. No, we should just have it." Remember, not even his family, his wife's. He had to declare bankruptcy due to the gym and is trying to drag sister-in-law down with him. His parents are paying for the divorce lawyer and he's trying to use the divorce to get the house or 50-0. We are pretty sure he is just trying to intimidate everyone for a payout. We have plenty of photographic proof of everything and inspection report when purchasing house Also photos of his ridiculous claims, example charging himself $50 an hour in labor, etc. After my second year in college, a friend and I moved in with another friend. He was renting a 3-bedroom house in a lower income area, so it was pretty cheap. It was fairly close to the university campus, and as all three of us were attending, we were able to work it out where it would be a whole lot cheaper living there than on campus. The neighborhood itself wasn't bad at all. It was mostly other kids, elderly folks, and a few others here and there. Everyone in the neighborhood was pretty relaxed and chill except for our neighbors. We'll call them Walter and Jesse. Now, Walter and Jesse were brothers and entrepreneurs of sorts. They ran a small, in-home business selling products in niche markets that required very little advertisement. They were meth cooks and dealers. Obnoxious, loud, violent drug dealers. Everyone hated them, but nobody would say anything about it due to the constant threats they would make while strung out from their front yard. We pretty much fell in line, at first. They would blast music and porn from their house from 7 until 7. We'd hear screaming matches at their house that became full-blown fights on their lawn. Huge parties that would go on for days. And to our chagrin, we ignored it all. Well up arrives March, and my income tax comes in. I only get about $500, but goddamn it, that's my $500, and I'm going to buy something for me. Everything has gone to college and brother-in-laws, and I want to splurge. I went out and bought a 42 LC TV. It's a Vizio, but it's the first HD I've ever had. My friends and I set it up, and oh boy, did we have fun that week. And only that week, for that's as long as I had it. The meth bros decide they're going to shoot their bug gun at whatever the hell they can see. At birds, bushes, fences, and especially windows. Well, one little bead decided to go straight through my window and hit my TV, cracking it while I was playing some Mo 2. My face dropped and I heard laughing, which then immediately turned to death threats. I called the cops. Now I know they had real guns. They had no issue showing them to anyone who looked at them. My friends and I were all disappointed at the turn of events, and both of them had submitted to not doing anything about it. But nay, not I. The one time I purchased myself a bit of joy in my life, I grew up fairly poor. It was taken away from me. So I plotted, and I plotted, and I plotted some more. And an evil plot I did accomplish. I saved up every Gatorade bottle I purchased for about 3 weeks. And every other day, I would go to a different store and purchase pool cleaning tablets and rubbing alcohol at a different one, all with cash, of course. Now, some of you might see what's going. And you'd be right. I had about 15 bottles saved up, and I made some spectacular chlorine gas bombs. I waited for a night when both of them were gone. It was about 3 a.m, so virtually everyone was asleep. I had prepared the Gatorade bottles with the alcohol prior, so I started loading the tablets into the bottles and throwing them over the fence. Since I didn't break down the tablets, it took a while for them to go off. I was able to get them all over the fence before the first one went boom. And boom they went. I go back inside and into my room. I hear them going off. Boom. Boom. One of my roommates wakes up and goes, "What the hell?" Boom. He woke my other roommate. His room was closer, and they were both freaking out. Boom. Time to put my game face on. I scramble on out of there and react visibly scared. Boom. I look at them and tell them to call the cops. Boom. Boom. He calls 911 and tells the cops he hears explosions. I go outside and pretend to look like I'm trying to find out what's going on. Boom. I tell my friend that it's coming from next door. Boom. He tells me that the cops have already been sent to the area by a previous caller. Boom. Boom. I tell him there's a bunch of smoke coming from outside. Boom. They tell us to stay inside. Boom. The last one goes off. We closed the doors and watched the mayhem unfold. Right before the cops come, the Heisenbrochs show up freaking out. Right as they go inside, about 3 cop cars show up and go through the front door. The officers haul them away and we go outside. They question us and we tell them what we know. As far as the chlorine gas is concerned, it is already wafted into the atmosphere. They came back a couple days later and asked us questions specifically about the brothers. We told them what we heard about them and how they acted and what they did. The officer left and that was the last time I talked about it. Nobody knows about what I did but me. And it was the happiest we've been in a long time. The last I heard about them, they were doing hard time for their drug ring, being in possession of illegal firearms and human trafficking. Surprisingly, a bit of context. I just got off a Christmas lunch with my colleagues, so I was still wearing black sculpt long-sleeve blazer on top it, dress pants, went straight to shopping for my Mills Christmas gifts yesterday at one of more upscale Canadian supermarkets that sells a wide variety of goods starting from food, finishing with high-quality clothes, fancy home appliances, decor. My Mill has a very particular taste, so I was taking my time to go through all the comfy clothes, beautiful home decor that I think she would love. I probably did at least 5 laps around each aisle to see if there's anything worth buying. I'm normally an extremely resistor and law-in person after working in hospitality for nearly 10 years, but our local Christmas shoppers seem to get the worst out of me. Here's our main character. Let's call her Barbara. I normally don't care about other people wandering around stores, mind my own business, but I couldn't help but notice my homegirl Barb right away. She came off as one of those classic entitled women in their early 50s walking around with her nose up, caked makeup with brutally uneven scarlet, red brutal, lipstick, dressed like a retired hooker with a dirty blonde ponytail, reeking of one of those musty perfumes that you could smell from 5 aisles away. Barbara A.E. Pye had spent a good chunk of time wandering through aisles in close proximity. She consistently felt the need to leave nasty remarks about almost every piece of clothing she happened to stumble upon. I've finally had enough of Barbara's presence, silently moved on to the home decor section, hoping that she eventually finds another atrocious piece of clothing to add to her wardrobe in peace, leaves by the time I'm back to the clothing section. Nobody owes me anything, I just let people be unless they start directly bothering me. So, I'm back at the clothing section in about 20 minutes. I don't spot or smell Barbara anywhere. So after a deep sigh of relief, I continue exploring. The peace didn't last long. Excuse me? Someone screeching from, quite literally, across the store, from the food section that's right next to the clothing one. I don't pay any attention to it visually, just make a mental note, as there are dozens of other people in the store. Reminder Christmas shopping. I've already drained too much time energy at that store by then. Hello? Excuse me? I finally turn around, see Barb looking in my general direction while she's still at least 50 feet away from me with about a dozen other customers standing between us, staring at her with nothing but confusion on their faces. At that point, Barbara was getting on my nerves, so I just followed by increasing my distance and walked around an aisle hoping to create some sort of visual, auditory barrier with her. She finally stomped all the way to my back, yelled practically in my ear in the most unbearable voice, "Ma'am, where did the beer go?" I turned to her, asked right off the bat, "I'm sorry, but why are you asking me?" Barb, with a shipment container load of attitude, "Well, don't you work here?" Me, I, in fact, don't. She instantly loses her aggressive confidence, looks like a deer in headlights for a moment, no less. With some sort of disgust in her face, she then starts rambling something off about me being dressed in, my uniform, which made her assume that I'm an employee at the store. Needless to say, no employees at that store, except for the owner, had ever dressed formally. Neat? Sure. Formal? Don't think so. It's also not my fault that your clothing taste doesn't let you differentiate between a corporate uniform formal dress code, but that's a whole different conversation. Despite the disgusting attitude and snarky remarks she kept throwing at me, I told her that as far as I know, they've removed all the alcohol from the store about a year ago because it kept getting stolen. They had no means of controlling it. Before I've even finished my sentence, she was already on to the next person she assumed was working there. She had finally found a staff member who told her exactly what I told her. I was never so relieved to get the hell out of the store.